Hello everybody, welcome to another video about the chameleons. If you're wondering why I'm exhausted, it's because I am. Today I'm going to be reviewing South Pacific, which is a documentary in 2009, made by the BBC, and narrated by Benedict Cumberbatch. I will do this review by talking about each of the different episodes separately. Episode 1, Ocean of Islands, just talks about overall talks about the South Pacific in general. It doesn't have a theme. It opens. The first segment is Macquarie Island with elephant seals and penguins. It also talks about coconut crabs and carnivorous caterpillars on Hawaii. Talks about the people. So it also talks about some of the people on different islands, including Pentecost Island, where the first bungee jumping is, and Anuta, which is a very sustainable island. It's a small island, but it has a population almost that of Bangladesh, but they are able to keep themselves fed. Another thing this episode talks about is Easter Island, which I will talk about later on. Episode 2 is called Castaways, and it talks about how animals have spread to even the most remote of Pacific islands. Starting in New Guinea, it talks about saltwater crocodile who's swimming across to the Solomons. Then talks about spawning of groupers on reefs and how reef fish, their eggs spread across the ocean, and about how in Fiji, Tonga and Samoa there were very few creatures, with the only mammals there being fruit bats, and other creatures there such as giant millipede and unique iguanas living there. It talks about seabirds being able to travel as far as possible, and how when they landed on dead coral atolls there, guano spread plants there and provided fertilizer for them to grow there, creating new ecosystems. It also talks about how humans, the native Polynesians, spread across the South Pacific, and with them they brought other creatures such as rats and mourning geckos. Episode 3, or Endless Blue, starts with the true story that inspired the book Moby Dick, of the story of the whale ship Essex, which was attacked by a huge bull sperm whale due to them being hunters, and the few survivors from the ship were trapped in an area with low nutrients, using nutrients being trapped at deeper levels of the ocean, meaning that it's basically a giant oceanic desert. It then shows creatures that can survive there, including pilot whales, squids, and white tip sharks. And it also shows nearby Galapagos Islands, which have much more life, with penguins, and sea lions, and manta rays. It also shows French Frigate Island, where frigate birds hunt sooty chicks, and tiger sharks hunt albatrosses. The next episode is Ocean of Volcanoes, which is also known as Rising Lands in some DVD releases. It mostly focuses on Hawaii and the Galapagos. It starts out in Hawaii, showing the biggest volcano in Hawaii, Kilauea, erupting and destroying towns. It also shows, I'm not sure how to pronounce this, Ohialuha, which is a native plant being able to grow in lava tubes, whereas its roots tapping into deep underground lava tubes, where strange milky white insects live. And then it shows the first ever captured footage of a penguin nest where the penguin babies are hunted by a Sally Lightfoot crab. Just to clarify, these penguins are in the Galapagos, not Hawaii. It then, in the Solomon Islands, shows megapods burying their eggs in the sands heated by geothermal heat. Couldn't remember the name there. Then shows volcanic atolls, which were once mountains created by volcanoes that sunk into the sea, leaving atolls and lagoons. It shows Kingman Reef, which was once a sunken volcano but is now almost completely underwater, but dead corals and clams have built up into a new island. It then shows a Triton's trumpet snail eating crown of thorns starfish, and it ends with, on Palau, the jewel of Micronesia, in which there are huge golden jellyfish that follow the sun. The next episode is my favourite episode, Strange Islands, which talks about unusual animal life in the Pacific. It starts with the dingiso in New Guinea, a type of tree kangaroo, and talks about the cargu from New Caledonia, and the monkey-tailed skink from the Solomon Islands, which is one of the largest skinks on Earth, and is herbivorous rather than insectivorous. So it talks about the different hunting creepers from Hawaii, which feed on the plant I couldn't pronounce earlier. And then it cuts to New Zealand, where it talks about the kakapo, which a rare ground parrot that is almost extinct, the evasive possums, and the strange bats which land on the ground. The New Zealand segment also features the most famous clip of this show, which features Benedict Cumberbatch unable to pronounce the word penguin.
Is penguins, crested penguins, parent penguin heading home. So why are these woodlands so attractive to penguins?
It also talks about Stevens Island, a small island off the coast of New Zealand that functions as a nature preserve. It's one of the few places where tuataras are still found. The documentary also talks about the Lyle's wren, or Stevens Island wren, which was wiped out by pet cats before it could even be declared officially a new species. The final episode of the series is Fragile Paradise, which focuses on the human effects on the Pacific Ocean, including climate change and overfishing and whaling, which no longer happens very much. It shows different islands affected by climate change, as well as unsustainable and sustainable fishing practices, and it features creatures most affected by climate change, including deep-sea snails, who feature as the basis for many ecosystems, but are dying due to them not being able to make their calcium carbonate shells, which are destroyed by the acidification of the oceans. It also talks about humpback whales and how they were hunted almost to extinction, but have now become a major tourism attraction. I mentioned this earlier. I have a section here to talk about the Rapa Nui, or Easter Islanders, and their history. The Rapa Nui, the Rapa Nui are descended from Polynesians who first arrived in Easter Island when it was one of the most diverse islands in the world, with the world's tallest palm trees and the most diverse seabird colonies. And Rapa Nui hunted the seabirds and took down these trees and built the famous moai, also known as Easter Island Heads, which is quite a misnomer, because they are more than just heads, and some of them extend even down to the thighs, but it required a lot of wood from the palm trees to transport these heads, and different tribes were in competition to each other. They exhausted all of the island's resources and abandoned the moai, is believed resorted to cannibalism. This was the older theory, and it is believed that something similar to this happened, but another contributing factor was the fact that the Rapa Nui brought rats to the island, rats which ate the seeds of the palm trees and ate the eggs of the seabirds. This, of course, is not to say that the Rapa Nui, without blame, if they had practiced more sustainable practices earlier on, they could have survived. But we should not blame them completely for their fall.